Hello, and welcome to Where Will You Stand? This is going to be a new podcast for me. Something that I've been wanting to do for a long time and never really got around to it. So, I'm just working with a shitty, crappy microphone, and I know my video quality really sucks if you're watching. I just want to touch base about, some things that I don't think have been talked about enough. Not nearly enough. In this podcast, we will be exploring politics, science, pop culture, and anything that needs to be questioned. The possibilities are endless. Why is the world being taken over by corporate interests? Why is the Pentagon admitting the existence of UFOs? Why does it seem like pop culture has degraded our society to such an extent? I want to ask the questions that aren't really being asked that often, and I just want to shed some light on some things. So please join me in looking at historical and current events in a way that I hope makes you look in the mirror at the end of the episode and ask yourself, where do you stand? So, I think one of the first things that I really want to do is go over the constitutional amendments. Not a lot of people actually know what some of the founding principles of our country are. And the First Amendment provides that Congress make no law respecting an establishment of religion and prohibiting its free exercise. We just saw COVID lockdowns, shut down all the churches so they can't gather. Basically like a big FU. It protects freedom of speech, the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government for a redress of grievances. What happened with the COVID lockdowns? People weren't allowed to gather, unless you were rioting. The press, anything to do with COVID, they got shut down. They weren't really allowed to talk about it. Everything just misinformation. You just label it misinformation. You have Forbes and I think Reuters, whatever the hell that is. All the fact checkers. They finally came out and said that it's mostly just opinion. The Second Amendment gives citizens the right to bear arms. For ages, we've had gun-free zones, gun-free cities. Like, look at Chicago. They're in their own hell over there. Especially since the past 2 years. All the DAs over there aren't prosecuting anything. Especially violence. The Third Amendment prohibits the government from quartering troops in private homes and major grievances during the American Revolution. That's not really much of a problem today, unless we had some kind of martial law thing, or World War III broke out and it came on to American soil, which I don't think ever really is going to happen. Hopefully not. The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable search and seizure. The government may not conduct any searches without a warrant, and such warrants will be issued by a judge based on a probable cause. There's a lot of fishy court cases, a lot of fishy, Project Veritas. What is it? His name Mike O'Keefe? O'Keefe. He got raided. I think there was pictures and a video of one of his neighbors or something. He got drug out in his boxers to the outside of his house. They didn't show him the warrant or anything until after they already drug him out of his house, which is something interesting to look into. The Fifth Amendment provides that citizens not be subject to criminal prosecution or punishment without due process. Citizens may not be tried on the same set of facts twice and are protected from self-incrimination. The right to remain silent. You plead the Fifth. The amendment also establishes the power of eminent domain, ensuring that private property is not seized for public use without just compensation. The Sixth Amendment assures the right to a speedy trial by jury of one's peers, to be informed of all the crimes of which one is charged, and to be confronted to confront the witness brought forward by the government. The amendment also provides the accused the right to compel testimony from witnesses and as well as the right to legal representation. You can kind of say what you want about January 6th. Happened a year ago. Some people are still sitting in jail waiting for their trial. And you can blame COVID, you can blame whatever you want to blame, but, you know, there's even other people that have had violent charges that I know of that are in the local news, that they get postponed dates, and they actually get set free. They just roam around the streets. The only time they get picked up again is if they do something violent again. The Seventh Amendment provides civil cases preserve the right to trial by jury. Yeah. The Eighth Amendment prohibits excessive bail, excessive fines, and cruel and unusual punishment. There's actually people fighting the jail that's in D.C., or prison, that they're holding some of the people that were at the quote-unquote Capitol riot. You know, their lawyers are citing an Eighth Amendment violation because they're held in solitary confinement for non-violent crimes the entire time, which is, I feel, unjust. The Ninth Amendment states that the list of rights enumerated in the Constitution is not exhaustive, and that the people retain all rights not enumerated. The 10th Amendment assigns all powers not delegated to the United States or prohibited to the states to either the states or to the people. Now, a lot of people, even like me, I forgot about most of the stuff that's in the Constitution. I'm actually, with my stepson, I'm going to be printing it out, and we're actually going to go over a whole bunch of history, learn about it, freshen me up, and he'll actually learn about it for the first time, which will be really cool. And I got one really cool thing from pre-World War II. It was, I'm a big history buff, I love history. And the Reichstag fire. There's a lot of people that don't really even know one of the first reasons Hitler wanted to start invading. And, you know, history has a strange way of repeating itself, especially with this thing called false flags. Now, let's get into this. This is from Coffee or Die, news media site. It's I think they're sponsored by Black Rifle Coffee Company or something. I didn't look too far into the website, but it seems pretty nice. How Hitler staged a false flag operation to justify the invasion of Poland starting World War II. The front page of the New York Times on September 1st, 1939 read, German army attacks Poland. Cities bombed, port blockaded. Danzig is accepted into the Reich. Hitler, the Chancellor of Germany, broadcast a clear message to the world when he announced, from now on, bomb will be met by bomb. On August 31st, a day prior to the declaration, American newspapers reported Polish insurgents and army troops clashed with the German police in the I can't even pronounce that radio station along with the Polish-German border. The reporters arrived in the aftermath and witnessed the scene of showing several dead corpses wearing Polish uniforms. The German news agency reports the attack came from about 8 p.m. this evening when the Poles forced their way into the studio and began broadcasting a statement in Polish. The BBC broadcast in London issued a statement. Within a quarter of an hour, say reports, the Poles were overpowered by German police who opened fire on them. However, the attack was not carried out by willing Polish participants. It was a part of a series of false flag attacks that the Germans had staged against themselves during a clever deception dubbed Operation Himmler, which they actually had a special about it on the History Channel, I believe. I used to watch that. It used to be on like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm just zoning out, staring at the TV, being a zombie. Nazi high command used multiple border incidents to create the appearance of Polish aggression to justify Hitler's invasion into Poland, sparking the beginning of World War II. I will provide propagandistic casus belli, Hitler told generals in August 22nd, 1939. Its credibility does not matter. The victor will not be asked whether he told the truth. Two separate raids occurred near the German village of Holkendein, I think, and at a forestry office in Pechen. 6 prisoners were taken from Sachsenhausen concentration camp, dressed in Polish military uniforms, and executed. The sophisticated and well-choreographed propaganda wing then spread the lies to the press. The Nazi high command took these lessons they learned from previous border incidents and then applied them to their most famous black propaganda raid and what became known as the Glycled Incident. Hitler brought in his most trusted and loyal followers to ensure the deception would be a success. Heinrich Himmler, there's a whole lot of craziness about him. The head of the SS and architect of the Holocaust, exactly. Reinhard Heydrich, the head of the SD and intelligence arm for the SS and an ace fighter pilot, and Heinrich Müller, the head of the Gestapo. Müller tasked Alfred Nildrix, a street brawler and a dedicated agent of the Nazi whatever the hell, or mobile killing squads, to lead the missions. Hitler originally planned to invade Poland on August 26th, but for political reasons decided to wait, thus delaying the assault on the radio station. Mueller informed Nujax that his team of 5 to 7 SS officers disguised in Polish military uniforms would receive several canned goods to be transported and scattered around the radio tower. The canned goods were more Polish inmates, either shot dead or dying from deadly doses of drugs, giving a false impression that a skirmish had taken place. In addition, Nujax had to prepare anti-German black propaganda message to transmit through the nationwide airwaves. On the night of August 31st, Nujax and his team of covert operatives infiltrated the area and ran up the stairs to the wooden radio tower. One of the Polish-speaking operatives quickly voiced the message through the intercom declaring the radio station had been captured. They then slipped away from the scene before an investigation could be conducted. Thus, 24 hours later, Hitler declared war on Poland, citing these provocations, making these false flag operations among the first actions of World War II. Now, that's just one of the false flags. One of the other false flags was definitely the Reichstag fire. They had set fire to their own capital and blamed insurgents. Now, the craziest thing is history always has a way of repeating itself, especially when we haven't learned anything. We have a tendency to forget, which is terrible.